The fact that common sense is on the endangered list should be no surprise to anybody that can think. We've kind of talked about it in other videos. I want to address it again in a little bit of a different way. Crane Brenton was an educator. He actually was a Rhodes Scholar and got his PhD at Oxford. He taught at Harvard from 1923 till his death in 1968. His expertise? Revolution theory. That should raise some eyebrows. Among the statements that he made is this one. Science, both in the sense of a body of accumulated scientific knowledge and in the sense of a way of going to work on problems, that is a scientific method, is not concerned with metaphysics. Science as science makes no attempt to answer, does not even ask the big questions of human destiny, of God's ways to man, of right and wrong and good and bad. As soon as a scientist asks and tries to answer any of the big questions, however, he is ceasing to behave as a scientist. He's at the very least doing something additional. He's probably doing something different. Now, that's the sound of reason and the voice of common sense. And it flies in the face of what you see today. In fact, back in 1957, in Washington Ethical Society versus District of Columbia, in the court case, or in a case in 1961, Torcaso versus Watkins, secular humanism was deemed a religion. And in March of 1987, District Court Judge W. Bradford Hand wrote this. For First Amendment purposes, the commitment of humanists to a non-supernatural and non-transcendent analysis prevents them from maintaining the fiction that this is a non-religious discipline. Secular humanism is religious for First Amendment purposes because it makes statements based on faith assumptions. He further says that to claim that there is nothing real beyond observable data is to make an assumption based not on science but on faith. Faith that observable data is all that is real. A statement that there is no scientific proof of supernatural or transcendent reality is irrelevant and nonsensical. He's not alone. Back in 1922, John Dewey, the founder of the Dewey Decimal System, a humanist, referred to education as a religion. He also referred to humanism as our common faith. Julian Huxley talked about religion without revelation being a description of secular humanism. And when secular humanism wants the benefits of religion, it classifies itself as religion. However, when secular humanism is challenged for the progressiveness of their ideology and pushing it into our public education, they say it's not a religion. You really can't have it both ways. Common sense really is on the endangered list. I want to read two passages, one out of Romans and one out of an Old Testament passage that you find in Isaiah. Romans chapter 1. Although they claimed to be wise, they became fools. They exchanged the glory of the immortal God for images made to look like mortal man and birds and animals and reptiles. Therefore God gave them over in the sinful desires of their hearts to sexual impurity for the degrading of their bodies with one another. They exchanged the truth of God for a lie, and worshipped and served created things rather than the Creator who is forever praised. Because of this, God gave them over to shameful lust. Even their women exchanged natural relations for unnatural ones. In the same way, the men also abandoned natural relations with women and were inflamed with lust for one another, men committing indecent acts with other men and receiving in themselves the due penalty for their perversion. First century humanity. Statements made in Isaiah chapter 22 deal with a nation that should have known better, that degraded itself and fell prey to its enemies. Chapter 22 of Isaiah. What troubles you now that you have all gone up on the roofs? Interesting statement. It refers to the town that's full of commotion, the city of tumult and revelry. Your slain were not killed by the sword, nor did they die in battle. All your leaders have fled together. They have been captured without even using a bow. All you who were caught were taken prisoner together, having fled while the enemy was still far away. The Lord has a day of tumult and trampling and terror, a day of battering down walls and of crying out to the mountains. Your choicest valleys are full of chariots, not yours, but your enemies. Horsemen are posted at the city gates, not yours, but your enemies. The defenses of Judah are stripped away. God called you on that day to weep and to wail, to tear out your hair, put on sackcloth, but see, there is joy and revelry. And you say, let us eat and drink, for tomorrow we die. That's the New International Version of those verses in Isaiah 22. Let me read you a paraphrase that kind of puts it in more of the way that we would say it today. What is going on here? All this partying and noise-making, shouting and cheering in the streets, the city noisy with celebrations. You have no brave soldiers to honor, nor combat heroes to be proud of. Your leaders were all cowards, captured without lifting a sword. A country of cowards, captured escaping the battle. It talks about God bringing a day noisy with mobs of people, jostling and stampeding, knocking down walls, hollering to the mountains, attack, attack. Your fine valleys are noisy with war, chariots and cavalry charging this way and that. God has left Judah exposed and defenseless. God called for a day of repentant tears, called you to dress in clothes of mourning. But what do? You throw a party. Eating and drinking and dancing in the streets, you barbecue bulls and sheep and throw a huge feast. Seize the day, you say. Eat and drink. Tomorrow we die. Common sense. If you obliterate an idea of something being right or wrong that is above what you deem to be right or wrong, you find the face of what we have all around us. As far as culture is concerned, more and more, well, truth has no meaning other than what I want it to mean. Anything bad? No, that's just in your imagination. Is it really? Take a look at where we are in this day and age and how primitive modern humanity has become. Intelligent? Not so much. Consistent? Logical? Rational? Not at all. Seems like that expert in revolution theory was correct, and John Dewey was right. What we have surrounding us is a religion of secular humanism that places idiocy in places of authority instead of intelligence. Pray for our nation. Please stay safe. We'll talk again soon.